guys, we are going to begin with our very quick short video today for a little bit of a calculus introduction. It is Sunday, May 24th, and this is the day that we do host our live group tutoring calculus sessions inside the acceleration matrix. So today our pre-planned little mini lesson is going to be on an introduction to functions. And so we just have a few questions here that we're going to go through quickly. All of these questions, these 5 questions, deal with the function that you see here, which is f of x equals the square root of x plus 1 plus 4. Once again, f of x equals the square root of x plus 1 plus 4. So the first thing they want us to know is the natural domain. Natural domain. Now remember, domain is the complete set of inputs that apply to this function. What numbers can you input in and not have a problem? That's what the domain is. They specifically ask for the natural domain. So what we mean by natural domain is those numbers that when we input it in, it doesn't cause a problem, like give us complex numbers, make us have to take the square root of the negative number, things like that. So if we look here, we always want to kind of check out the inside of a square root and make sure we're not going to get a negative here. So basically we're solving the problem. We want x plus 1 to be greater than or equal to 0, right? Because if it's less than 0, then that means we're going to have a negative, and that's where we have a problem. So we want the x values that will guarantee the square root to be positive. So just a simple solving of this, we subtract 1 on both sides. And we know that x has to be greater than or equal to -1. So you can actually write the domain this way, or we can write it in interval notation and say we definitely are including -1 and going all the way up to positive infinity. So that's how we would write it in interval notation. Question B, or part B of this question, we want to find or evaluate this function when x is 3. And I know that because the 3 is replacing the x. So to solve this, we simply would substitute 3 in everywhere there's an x. So we have the square root of 3 plus 1 plus 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. So now we have the square root of 4 plus 4. And you know that the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 plus 4 equals 6. That would be our answer to part B. Part C asks us to substitute this entire expression in for x. So now we have t squared minus 1 going into that x place. Let's try to do the work over in the margin here. So the square root of t squared minus 1 plus 1, and then all of that is added to 4. So -1 and plus 1, of course, is going to cancel, so we're left with the square root of t squared plus 4. Now we know anytime you square something and square root it, it cancels itself or undoes itself. So t plus 4 is our answer, but we need to be careful here. Have to be very specific when you're getting prepared for calculus, because when you take the square root of a number, you if they're going to be real numbers, then you want to say the absolute value, right? Because we could have a negative number that we multiply together to make this thing true as well, but we only want the positive value. So the absolute value just shows that we're dealing with just a positive t plus 4. All right, just 2 more to go here. This one looks a little different. It says f of x equals 7. They're not asking us to evaluate f of x when x is 7. They're letting us know that the function itself is 7. So our setup is going to be slightly different. Watch here. We're going to say 7 equals the square root of x plus 1 plus 4. So essentially, we're working backwards and solving this equation for x. Unlike what we were doing before, where we substituted x in and get the value of the function. So let's go ahead and subtract 4 on both sides. We're going to try our best to get the x completely isolated. So now we have 3 is equal to the square root of x plus 1. So now to undo this square root, we're going to square both sides here. We'll end up with 9 equals x plus 1. And then, of course, just subtracting 1 from both sides. I'm running out of room, but subtracting 1 on both sides just gives us an 8. Okay. So at this point, we're down to the last one. We want to know what the range of this given function is. And the range is the set of all y values or the set of all possible outputs. Now, remember from the very beginning, we knew that x had to be greater than or equal to -1. So knowing that, we can plug that in and that will give us our minimum y value. So what happens when we substitute -1 in? We get -1 plus 1 is 0, and the square root of 0 is just 0, right? Plus 4 is 4. So that's going to be our minimum y value. Right? So we know that y has to be greater than or equal to 4, or we can write it as 4 to positive infinity. Okay? So that has been our very quick recap, introduction to calculus, specifically dealing with functions. So just a little review of functions as we get ready to go into our calculus series. Thanks, guys.